So this is a tutorial on how to get Swift Linux loaded onto a Cloud9 instance. So we're in Cloud9 right now, and we're going to create a new environment, and we're going to call it Swift. And as usual, we'll make sure that we're using Ubuntu instead of the standard Amazon. And we will create the instance. Once again, it's going to take a couple minutes for the instance to get up and running. While we're waiting for that, we can get the link that we're going to need to be able to download this. So if you just Google Swift Linux, the first thing that you should see is swift.org and the downloads page. And you will notice that the latest release at the moment is 5.1.3. And here is the Ubuntu 18-04. So we're just going to copy that link, and you'll notice it down at the bottom here. And we're going to need that in a few moments. So we're going to go back, and we'll just wait for our instance to start up. Once your instance is up and running, we're going to get a new terminal. And we're going to actually move right back to the root. And we're going to go to USR or user. And then we're going to go to a directory called bin. And you will notice in here, there's all kinds of things. But more importantly, for our perspective, since we're coding, you'll notice that there is things like Java and Python. This is where these programming languages are saved. So this is where we're going to actually place our Swift environment. So we're going to download this file from swift.org, and we're going to, for all these commands, we're going to use sudo since we're in the user bin directory, and we're going to use wget, and you can just paste in that URL and press return, and we will download that giant file. So it's going to take a few minutes to download that. You will notice that it's actually a zipped up file that contains many folders with files in them. I'm just going to grab this command that we will use to unzip those files once this is done. So we'll just wait for that to finish. You'll notice it's quite the large file. So it's done now. So what we will do, once again, make sure you use sudo at the beginning. We'll take that command, which will unzip our file, and the file name is called that. So we're going to unzip this in the current directory. So this will just take a minute. So we're just going to do an ls so you can actually see the original zipped up file and the folder. So this is the folder, and this is our original file. You'll remember that this was a really large file, so we should remove this now that we have the folder. You'll also notice that this is a really nasty long name. We're going to change this so it's just Swift. So we're going to do sudo remove, and we're going to get rid of, make sure it's not the folder, but the file. We're going to delete that really big file so that we save space. The next thing we're going to do is rename the folder to just Swift. So we're actually going to use the move command, and we're going to take this folder and we're going to move it to Swift so that we get rid of all the release information. So if we do an ls again, you'll see that it just says Swift now. So we can move into this directory, and you'll notice it itself contains a user and a bin, and inside this directory you will see the Swift program there and the Swift compiler, which we're going to be using. So we're just going to make sure that this is actually working. So if we do Swift -- version, it should tell us what version we're running. Oops, sorry, let me try that again. There we go. So that was the version that we're running. And just to prove that this actually is working, I'm going to do the Hello World program. So I'm just going to create it right at the root. Obviously, you would not create a file right at the root. You would put it in some kind of appropriate folder. I'm going to create a new blank file, and it is a very confusing hello world, print hello world. We're going to save as. The file extension we're always going to use is .swift, and you start with a capital name for file names. So we're going to save that file. Notice that it automatically colorized it. So although Swift isn't loaded by default, Cloud9 can colorize our text for us. And now we're going to go back here and just make sure we have this big long path, because we're going to need that. And we're going to open up a new terminal. And remember that Swift is a compiled language, so we have to compile it and then run it. So /user /bin Swift user bin Swift C is the compiler, and the file we're going to run through the compiler is hello world, even though I spelled hello world wrong, but that's okay. And after we run that, you'll notice that this file has now been created, and this is the file that we actually run to see our program actually running. And there's our Hello World program, and we now have Swift up and running.